Ladies and gentlemen, special guests, members of the press, welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. I'm Dan Sloan. I'm president of this organization. South Korea has experienced an extraordinary 4 months in which its then president Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law, citing pro-North domestic forces, was ousted from office by impeachment and arrested in January, and then last week was permanently removed from the position following a unanimous ruling by the country's constitutional court. Acting President Han Duck-soo will remain in office, and another election will be held on June 3rd. President Yoon's government was seen as conservative, but had advocated unification of the Koreas. One could argue that Seoul should first focus on its own healing before dealing with the sustained fractures on the Korean peninsula, but that's exactly the job of our guest today, South Korea's Unification Minister, Dr. Kim Young-ho. He is visiting Japan as South Korea's military earlier this week fired warning shots after 10 North Korean soldiers crossed the border at the DMZ, one of the most fortified borders in the world. Minister Kim leads a ministry tasked with reuniting the Koreas as one nation. In this, the 80th year of the historic divide. Minister Kim hosted a meeting last week with senior officials to discuss policies, which included abductions and human rights abuses by the North. He has met with Diet members earlier today and will meet with the Japanese foreign minister this afternoon. The abductees remain a sticking point between the Koreas and with Japan. Some 500 have not been repatriated, but interest in the issue has waned somewhat, with some seeing it as an obstacle to further dialogue. Our guest is a university associate professor at Sungshin Women's University, is currently on sabbatical now. Previously, he served as a presidential secretary for Unification during Lee Myung-bak's administration from 2011 to 2012. He also taught as a visiting professor at Keio University in 2015. He has held this ministry position since July 2023 and will have great insights on the state of affairs on the peninsula. With no further ado, our special guest today, Minister Kim. Sir.
Thank you, Dan, for your kind introduction. It is my great honor to share my view with the foreign correspondent in Tokyo. I'm very pleased to meet you. I am Kim Young-ho, Minister of Unification, Republic of Korea. This year marks the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Korea and Japan. It is meaningful to be in Japan today to speak with journalists about Korean government policies on unification and North Korea. First, I thank the Foreign Correspondent Club of Japan for organizing this event and all of you for joining us. About 10 years ago, in 2015, I stayed in Japan as a visiting professor at Keio University. I remember starting my days at the beautiful Mita campus library surrounded by autumn leaves, reading Japanese and international newspapers. I also have fond memories of learning Japanese from Keio University volunteers. These experiences make this visit to Japan special to me personally. Growing exchanges and cooperation between Korea and Japan matter not only for economic and cultural reasons, but also for peace and stability in Northeast Asia, including the Korean Peninsula. Today, I hope we can have an open discussion about international situations and Korean Peninsula issues. We are now a quarter into 2025. The harsh winter is fading and the spring warmth approaches. However, we still face serious challenges. This world is experiencing an unprecedented global crisis and rapidly changing geopolitical dynamics. The security environment in the Indo-Pacific, including the Korean Peninsula, is becoming more uncertain. With the second Trump administration now in office, U.S. foreign policy is changing significantly. The world is also watching development in the Ukraine war. During this time, North Korea is raising tensions with threat and provocations. These pose danger not only to Korean Peninsula, but also global peace and stability. Even until last year, North Korea has been advancing its nuclear capacity and erasing the idea of unification. It has engaged in military cooperation with Russia and even deployed troops in Ukraine. In the late 2023, North Korea officially declared inter-Korean relations as hostile relations between two separate states and explicitly opposed unification. They have rejected all dialogue offers and humanitarian aid from our government. They have dismantled agencies responsible for inter-Korean relations and even blown up connecting road. Behind these hostile actions is the North Korean regime's need to prevent its people from longing for South Korea and to maintain power through tight control. Since 2020, North Korea has enforced strict laws such as law on rejecting reactionary thought and culture, the Youth Education Guarantee Law, and the law on protecting the Pyongyang cultural language to block South Korean cultural influences. At the same time, it continues to develop nuclear and missile capabilities to gain recognition as a nuclear state. North Korea's provocations and militarization are linked to human rights abuses. The regime uses forced labor and exploitation to support its military goals. North Korean nuclear and human rights issues are two sides of the same coin. The deployment of North Korean troops to Ukraine shows how the regime threatens global peace while prioritizing its survival of its people's well-being, sacrificing young people in foreign conflict. The best way to stop North Korea's threat is for the international community to stand united against North Korea's nuclear ambitions. To resolve the North Korean nuclear issue, we must follow three key principles. First, we should pursue complete denuclearization of North Korea. Second, we must maintain close cooperation between ROK, US, Japan, and international community. Third, we need to strengthen extended deterrence through a strong US-ROK alliance. There is Korean saying, when many people come together, a path will open. Even if North Korea's denuclearization seems difficult, if the international community joins forces, we will find a way forward. During the recent ROK US-Japan trilateral ministerial meeting in February, we reaffirmed our commitment to North Korea's complete denuclearization. This will be a critical step in finding the right path. It's time for a new approach to our unification and North Korea policy. We should not rely only on the goodwill of the North Korean regime, but expand our focus to the North Korean people themselves. Unification should not be seen purely in economic and utilitarian terms. It is our moral duty to help North Koreans suffering under oppression. The Korean government announced the August 15th Unification Doctrine last August. It sets a vision for a unified Korea based on freedom, peace, prosperity. The doctrine states both North and South Korean people are the main actors in unification. Expanding freedom and human rights across the entire Korean peninsula is the ultimate goal. To implement this vision, the Ministry of Unification is focusing on 3 key areas. First, we will promote positive changes in North Korea based on universal values of freedom and human rights through consistent policy. We remain open to dialogue and humanitarian aid while addressing North Korean human rights issues with international community. Recent document from Mr. Lee Il-gyu, former counselor at the North Korean embassy in Cuba, reveals that Pyongyang directly responded to international discussions on human rights. This proves that effort by ROK government and international community are affecting North Korean authorities. The ROK government will continue working with the international community to improve human rights in North Korea. Second, we will strengthen our capability for unification through practical policies. We need to move beyond abstract ideas toward the detailed and practical policies based on evidence and data. Our ministry publishes the report on North Korean human rights based on testimonies from North Korean defectors. It is widely referenced internationally. With our report on North Korean economy and society, we highlighted changes happening in North Korea from bottom up. These changes were driven by marketization and information spread among the people despite the regime's control effort. Last year's survey on global perception of Korean unification gathered views from people in 8 different countries, including Japan. It provides valuable insight into international perspectives on unification. We will build a foundation for better international understanding of North Korea by gathering valid data through comprehensive research rather than fragmented studies. Third, we have worked to secure international support for the vision of free, peaceful, and prosperous unified Korea. We hosted the Global Korea Forum, bringing together policymakers and experts interested in unification and North Korean issues, building international support. We also hosted international dialogue on North Korean human rights and ROK US-Japan trilateral dialogue on North Korean human rights, expanding international consensus on the issue. The issues of abductees, detainees, and unrepatriated POWs are core concerns international community must address together. Japan shares the Republic of Korea's position on resolving the issue of abduction by North Korea. Both countries have confirmed their cooperation through various diplomatic events to resolve these issues. Since April last year, the Ministry of Unification's Center for North Korean Human Rights Record has included specific questions in the interviews with North Korean defectors to gather information on Japanese abductees. I hope Korea and Japan will continue working closely together to resolve these issues. As mentioned, it has been 60 years since diplomatic relations between ROK and Japan were normalized. Despite ups and downs in the ROK-Japan relations, exchanges and cooperation have grown tremendously across politics, economy, culture, and people-to-people interactions. The mutual understanding developed over time will help the ROK-Japan resolve historical issues and build a future-oriented partnership. The ROK and Japan are close neighbors and key pillars of liberal democracy in Indo-Pacific region. We are partners pursuing shared values and interests. We welcome Japan's active role in denuclearizing North Korea, improving human rights there, and resolving abductee issues. We also welcome Japan's contributions to peaceful Korean unification. Finally, I know many of you are watching Korea's current political development with concern. However, the liberal democracy that sustains ROK is the result of our people's long-standing sacrifices and effort. It has strong vitality and resilience that will not be shaken by adversities. I am confident the ROK will overcome this challenge and emerge stronger. The Ministry of Unification will remain steadfast and carry out its duties to build a unified Korean peninsula that contributes to global peace and prosperity. Once again, I thank all of you for being here today. I ask for your continued interest and support in addressing North Korean issues and achieving unification. I am now ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Kim. At this point, we'll open the floor to our working press. As you probably know, we are live streaming on YouTube this event, so we have already received some questions from journalists who are watching online. This event will be archived as well, so you can watch it later. In the interest of time, we've got about 40 minutes. Please limit yourself to one question. Don't make a speech. Identify yourself, and we will try to get everyone, including our online audience, to be able to participate today. At this point, I'll recognize those in the room first. Yes, Fred?
Fred Vargo, freelance. In reference to the points that you made about how you might bring about unification, you talked about denuclearization. That seems to be a fantasy almost, especially as you've seen what happened in Ukraine when they gave up their nuclear weapons. You talked about the US-Korea alliance at a time when Trump is becoming very isolationist, so there's no guarantee that he's going to defend Korea or Japan or Taiwan. And you talk about international forces joining to put pressure on North Korea. I think international forces generally are pretty much joined together, perhaps with the exception of Russia and China. Maybe you could comment on those two countries.
트럼프 행정부가 우선 들어섰습니다마는 한미일 아까 제가 말씀드린 대로 외교장관 회담이라든지 그리고 트럼프 행정부 고위 관리들도 공식적으로 북한의 완전한 비핵화를 정책의 목표로 정하고 있다 하는 점을 분명히 하고 있습니다. 그래서 우리 정부는 미국, 일본 국제사회와 협력해서 북한의 완전한 비핵화를 목표로 정책을 계속해서 추진해 나갈 그런 계획으로 있습니다. 그리고 이 북한 핵 문제를 해결하기 위해서는 국제 공조가 대단히 중요하다 이렇게 생각을 합니다. 방금 말씀하신 대로 일부 국가들의 경우에는 북한의 제재에 소극적인 그런 입장을 갖고 있습니다만은 가치를 공유하고 있는 또 그리고 북한의 비핵화를 원하는 그런 국가들의 협력을 통해서 이 북핵 문제는 반드시 해결돼야 된다라는 그런 방향으로 대한민국 정부는 계속해서 노력해 나갈 것이다. 이 말씀을 드리고 싶습니다.
Since the launch of Trump administration, the ROK, US, and Japan have ministerial foreign minister meeting, and even high officials from U.S. government have reaffirmed that the complete denuclearization of North Korea is important, and the ROK government are trying to our best to have close cooperation with U.S. and Japan, and pursue the complete denuclearization of North Korea. In terms with the North Korean nuclear issues, international cooperation is very important. Some countries are not following the UN sanctions on North Korea. However, the like-minded countries who share the values and the importance of the denuclearization are closely cooperating, and I believe that we can solve the denuclearization issues with the international cooperation.
All right. Specifically, you wanted some comment on China and North Korea? China and Russia. Yeah. Minister, if possible, could you be specific about the role of China and Russia in this unification process or denuclearization process?
중국이라든지 러시아 이런 국가들도 한반도의 평화와 안정을 원하고 있는 것으로 그렇게 알고 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 이 통일이라고 하는 문제 그리고 이 북핵 문제 해결이라고 하는 것이 한반도 평화와 안정에 기여한다고 한다면은 중국과 러시아도 거기에 반대할 이유는 없을 것이다. 그런 생각을 합니다.
The China and Russia also pursuing the peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula, and the unification issues, and North Korean nuclear issues. Solving those issues are contributing to the peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula. So therefore, I believe that Russia and China do not have a reason to reject or deny the importance of the unification and North Korean nuclear issues.
Thank you. In my intro, I've neglected to introduce our interpreter today, Mr. Park Daiwan. So thank you very much. Our next question from the floor. Yes, sir.
My name is Kondo from Kodansha Publishing Company. And 한국말로 질문합니다. 일본에서 작년에 이런 책이 나왔습니다. 이러한 동시 핵무장의 중력이라는 책이 나왔고 화제가 나왔습니다. 네, 한국의 핵 개발은 어떤 상황입니까? 그 책 내용 보면 이제 70% 이상이 한국 핵 개발에 대해서 찬성하고 있다고 쓰여 있습니다. 그리고 이제 북한의 핵 개발을 멈출 수 없고 핵 개발은 어쩔 수 없다 그런 주장입니다. 그렇게 대해서 그런 주장에 대해서 어떻게 생각하십니까? 감사합니다.
My name is Kondo from Kodansha. Last year, one book was published. The name is Korea-Japan, The Shock of Korea-Japan's Nuclearization. And I want to ask how the Korean government, how is the situation of the nuclear development in Korea? And I saw a survey that more than 70% of the Korean publics are agreeing on the nuclear development. How do you evaluate this kind of situation?
네, 질문 감사합니다. 한국 정부의 입장은 분명합니다. 네, 대한민국 정부의 입장은 핵무기 확산 방지 조약 (NPT) 그 조약을 준수한다고 하는 것입니다. 그리고 비확산 규범을 대한민국 정부는 준수한다고 하는 것이죠. 대한민국 정부는 독자적인 핵 개발이라든지 이런 문제를 고려하고 있지 않습니다. 그렇기 때문에 아까 제가 말씀드린 대로 우리 정부는 한미 동맹 강화를 통해서 이 북한 핵에 대한 확장 억제의 유지 강화 그걸 통해서 이 한반도 평화와 안정에 안정을 유지하기 위해서 노력을 하고 있습니다. 우선 우리 정부의 입장을 국제사회가 잘 이해하는 게 중요하다. 저는 그렇게 말씀드리고 싶습니다. 대한민국이 북한의 핵 위협에 직면해서도 이 NPT 레짐을 지키려고 하는 그 노력을 국제사회가 이해하고 평가해야 된다고 합니다. 해야 된다고 생각합니다. 그렇기 때문에 국제사회가 북핵 문제 해결을 위해서 더욱더 적극적으로 노력해야 된다. 이런 말씀을 드리고 싶습니다.
I'd like to say that the ROK government's position on nuclearization or nuclear development is clear. We agree with the NPT agreement, and we are following the non-proliferation agreement, and we do not have any plan for nuclear development. Our government is strengthening the ROK-US alliance, and we are strengthening our extended deterrence framework through the US-ROK alliance because it contributes to peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula. And I believe international community should highly evaluate this kind of efforts. And in terms of the nuclear crisis, the North Korean nuclear crisis, even though the nuclear crisis, we are protecting the NPT regime, and we're trying our best to protect and follow the NPT regime, and we need international cooperation to resolve the nuclear development of the North Korea.
Our next question comes from our online audience, Jesse Johnson of the Japan Times, who asked the minister, will former President Yoon's ouster impact South Korea-Japan ties, including moves to combat North Korea's nuclear ambitions, especially if Yoon's impeachment leads to the Democratic Party's Lee winning the next presidential election?
First of all, it is very difficult to predict presidential elections to be held on June 3rd. But what I want to say is that even though there is any political change in South Korea, South Korean Japanese strong relations must be maintained. So we need close cooperation on the governmental level and National Assembly and Japanese Diet level and expert level. When I came to Tokyo, I heard people's concern, then talked about just ago. But I'm sure that Japanese South Korean relations will remain firm despite any political changes in South Korea.
Thank you, sir. Next, yes, sir.
My name is Takuya Nishimura, freelance writer. Thank you very much. What do you think is the impact of Trump's tariff policy in the trilateral alliance between Japan, South Korea, and United States? And what is the impact on the issue of unification of the Korean Peninsula? Thank you.
Acting President Han Duck-soo had a telephone conversation with President Trump last Tuesday. And Acting President Han Duck-soo had an interview with CNN. In this interview, Acting President Han said that my government will take a cool and calm approach in negotiation with United States on tariff issues. I think the Japanese government is also making a great effort to solve this tariff issue on a bilateral basis. So I think mainly this tariff issue will be dealt by Japanese government and the South Korean government respectively. Your question on unification, as I mentioned in my presentation, Ministry of Unification took a research on the perception of unification from 8 countries. It is very interesting to see that the Japanese public is more interested in resolving a nuclear issue rather than unification. This means that the Japanese public pay more attention to imminent issues like North Korea's nuclear and missile capabilities. So it is the job of ROK Unification Ministry to explain more the importance of Korean unification to Japanese public. This year, we will conduct this research again. So we will see any change in Japanese people's perception on unification and security concerns. Thank you.
Our next question comes from our online audience again. This is from Jin Hirakawa from the Asahi Shimbun. He asks, it is reported that in October 2024, that the North Korean constitution began to define the South as a hostile state, and that Kim Jong-un has renounced reunification. How does this affect the prospect of reunification in the future?
Korean nation has been a homogeneous people for 1,000 years. Even if North Korea denounces the nationhood of North and South Korean people, it cannot be like that way. So even though North Korea's denouncement of reunification of Korea, my government, my ministry will continue to pursue unification policies based on the article of Constitution of ROK. ROK Constitution stipulate that my government must pursue a unification, peaceful unification, based on the principles of freedom and democracy. When it comes to North Korea's announcement of 2 hostile states between North and South Korea, I want to mention the result of MOU's research on North Korea's socio-economic reality. According to this report, 3 important element comes out. in North Korea, public distribution system is broken down. So people find out their daily necessities in black market. That is called 장마당. So now in North Korea, marketization is rapidly proceeding. So we recognize there is a clear tension existing between the power of the regime and the power of the market in North Korea. The second important element is informatization. Now, North Korean people owns more than 7 million cell phones. North Korean people's cell phones cannot be connected to internet, so they cannot use Wi-Fi or internet. However, they use this cell phone to see South Korean K-drama and listen to K-pops. So North Korean people is eager to know more about outside society. So this information changes the mindset of North Korean people. That is very important development in North Korea. Third, North Korean people began to recognize that living for their family and for themselves is more important than working for the regime. So North Korean people began to have an individualistic idea rather than collectivist idea. So these changes from bottom up accelerate the changes in North Korean society. Here we can find why North Korean regime decided to announce two hostile states between South and North Korea. North Korean regime wanted to prevent North Korean people's longing for South Korea and outside the world. So North Korean government say that North and South Korean people are not the same nation anymore. North Korea, they force North Korean people to forget the existence of South Korea and the entity of South Korean people. So I think this development is very important. In terms of political regime typology, North Korean political regime is called totalitarian regime. Then what's the difference between traditional dictatorship and the totalitarian political regime? In traditional dictatorship, the regime uses violence to subdue its own people. In contrast, totalitarian political regime aim for the total control of the body and mind. So we call it totalitarian regime. So now, as I told you, there began to appear alternative culture, alternative ideas, because of the spread of Hallyu among North Korean people. This means that there began to appear a crack in North Korean totalitarian regime. So, international community needs to pay more attention to software aspect of resolving North Korean issue. And now, international community focused on denuclearizing North Korea's nuclear weapons. I think this is very important. This hardware approach is very important, but we also pay attention to the cultural approach because North Korean society is experiencing from bottom up. In 2023, 2 families defected to South Korea by boat, 2 families. When I interviewed them, they told me that they all watched South Korean dramas while in North Korea. So watching South Korean drama make them recognize how affluent South Korean society is. So they recognize that they lived under a lie. So they decided to defect South Korea for freedom, even though they were risking for their life.
Our next question comes from online, from Reuters, Rocky Swift. Rocky asks, although reunification may still be far off, are there any updated estimates for what redevelopment might cost of the North for South Korea?
Yes, I think it is very good question. Cost-benefit aspect is very important in approaching Korean reunification. There is a wide difference in the estimate of cost and benefit on Korean unification. But I'm sure that Korean reunification will be beneficial to Korean people as well as to the world community. As I mentioned in my presentation, I think this utilitarian and economic approach to Korean unification is very important. However, what I want to emphasize today is that Korean unification needs to be approached as part of moral duty to save North Korean people suffering under the North Korean harsh regimes. North Korean young soldiers are deployed to Ukraine war. Recently, 2 North Korean soldiers were caught. There are 2 North Korean POWs in Ukraine. They didn't know where to go, what to fight for. It is clear a violation of human rights. So when we look at these dismal human rights situations, Korean reunification is imperative. When I visited Washington, D.C., I had a talk with a U.S. student. At that time, I told them that U.S. President Lincoln approached the liberation of slaves as a moral duty. He didn't approach liberation of a slave in the state in a utilitarian terms. So I think we need to take a firm position on Korean unification in terms of moral duty, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Please identify your affiliation as well.
Hi, my name is Yukari Kondo from NHK. I would like to ask your visit to Japan. First of all, why did you decide to come to Japan this time? And also, what kind of discussions have you done with Japanese officials or plan to have? What would you like to focus the most during this visit? Thank you.
With the second Trump administration in office, close cooperation between Japan and ROK has become very, very important. So I came here to discuss the way in which Japan and my government will cooperate and to cope with North Korean nuclear issues and human rights problems. And also another objective is to discuss abductee issue. So the resolving abductee issue is common interest of the two countries. What is the second?
Why? Who are you going to discuss with in Japan? What topic?
Yes. I met Diet members. So when I met Diet members, they were very surprised to hear about the current situation in North Korea. They told me that Japanese society does not know much about the current North Korean socio-economic situation. So Japanese public will have more understanding of the current situation in North Korea. It will help two countries to find out solutions to abductee issues. So after this conference, I have more meeting and schedule, but my counterpart told me that it should be, should not be disclosed until they see me. So thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to take the liberty to ask a question. Minister, you, I think, made a comparison or a metaphoric comparison to the moral imperative that President Lincoln and the Republican or the government at that time had on liberating slaves in Civil War South. Are you comparing, therefore, the citizens of North Korea to slaves? Is that the comparison that you wanted to make?
I do not mean I compare North Korean people to slaves, but what I am trying to emphasize is the moral duty or moral imperative is very important. We are living in a free society. So how can we use this freedom to further freedom for people living in dictatorial societies? So that is my 비유가 뭐죠? 비유. comparison. Comparison, yes.
Okay, Fred.
Fred Varco again, freelance. I wanted to ask you about two comments that are reported that you made. One is you apparently often call for regime change in North Korea. Is that your position, and is that still your position? And the other apparently is that you are opposed to any kind of federal joining together of North and South Korea. Could you comment on that, especially in reference to what happened in Germany?
My government position is that my government does not pursue regime change of North Korea. We pursue incremental changes in North Korean society. On the question of federation, when we look at Article 4 of U.S. Constitution, this Constitution says that it is the duty of U.S. federal government to maintain Republican form of political system in the state. So this means that for the federation to be formed, two different members or a state should have homogeneous political system. Now, North and South Korea totally different political system. So we cannot imagine how possible two different political regimes should be united in a federative or confederative way. When you raise the question of East and West German unification, East Germany changed its political system by East German people's self-determination. So when East and West German political system became the same, they became reunified into a one nation. Yes. Thank you.
Can I just follow up that briefly?
Very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you, but economically and socially, they still have big differences in Germany. So won't that be the same in Korea?
Yes, politically, it is my concern too when we think about Korean unification. But after a political system has been made the same, I think we can solve economic differences. But I think it will take time.
Sorry, we've come to the end of our session. Minister Kim, all of our guests who come to the Foreign Correspondents Club, we offer an honorary one-year membership. So when you come back to Japan on further missions or to teach again at some point, we welcome you to our club. We thank you very much for your time during your busy schedule. Thank you, sir. If you could all stay seated while the minister leaves the room.